2 days and counting to the 116th Boston Marathon. And as the town fills with expectant runners, we welcome you back to Boylston Street for Day 2 and RunCenter, presented by Adidas. Hi everybody, I'm Tony Revis. Welcome to the Town Stove and Spirits. 600 meters from the finish line of the Boston Marathon, really the epicenter of this race come Monday afternoon. Now, in real estate, it's location, location, location. But in marathon running, it's weather, weather, weather. And forecasters are predicting temperatures on Monday's marathon to begin in the mid-70s and going up as high as 88 degrees by mid-afternoon. This is dangerous weather conditions for these marathon runners, and it comes on the heels of maybe the best day in a generation last year where all the records were set. Now, it doesn't just slow the runners down, it can make for dangerous conditions as well. I was speaking with a number of coaches at yesterday's press conference, and they kept talking about this need for speed to impress the Olympic selectors, but at the same time having the physical consequences of running hard in these dangerous conditions. Now, the last time weather was predicted to be this bad and turned out to be that bad was at the 2004 Boston Marathon. Timothy Cherugut from Kenya won the men's race that day in 2:10:37, won by over a minute, and Catherine Dereba won in a duel against Elfanish Alemu of Ethiopia. They ran 2 hours and 24 minutes, but both those young ladies were cramping very badly at the end, and Catherine Dereba collapsed as she won that race. So it can be pretty dangerous out there at the marathon. Well, yesterday at the John Hancock press conference at the Copley Plaza Hotel, we talked to a number of the top athletes in Monday's marathon, including our defending champions Caroline Kalel on the women's side and Geoffrey Mutai on the men's side. Now, both have Olympic hopes riding on Monday's race. Mutai actually admitted to having a small little inflammation on his right foot, which came up at February's San Blas Half Marathon in Puerto Rico. He was scheduled to run the Rock Half Marathon in the United Arab Emirates a couple of weeks later, but he pulled out of that competition in order to rest his foot. He says all is well now, but maybe this hot weather that's predicted for Monday's race might slow the pace and actually give a little bit of ease on his foot as well. We will see. But Caroline Kalel, comes in along with Mutai knowing that she has to run very well and perform well, perhaps even win the race in order to be selected for the Olympic team going to London 2012. She's trying to become the first woman to go back-to-back here in Boston since Catherine Dereba did it back in 2004 and 2005. One other story to report. 2011 San Diego Rock and Roll Marathon champion Bujenes Deba of Ethiopia was also admitted to a slight foot injury coming into the marathon. Yesterday at the press conference, we noticed her limping as she was going from the podium down to her table to be interviewed. And that's never a good sign when an athlete is limping on the weekend of the marathon they're expected to run. Her coach and her husband, Warku Bey, essentially says they're going to make a day-to-day decision as they near race time on Monday at 9:30. Deba, who won in Los Angeles and was second at New York City, was one of the definite favorites and one of the contenders for the title, but now there's a question whether she'll even start the race or not. Now, later today, the competition begins here at the Boston Marathon weekend as the 16th annual BAA Relay Challenge gets underway. This is when all the kids from around the city of Boston come together and run up and down in Copley Plaza, and it's a wonderful experience. We'll have cameras there and give you a little bit of a report on tomorrow's RunCenter show. With its 116 years of history, age alone makes the Boston Marathon special. But what else is it about Boston that makes it the dream of all marathoners worldwide? Well, that's what we sent our Kerry Tolleson out to find out.
Hey Tony, people could choose any marathon all over the world, but I'm here to find out why they chose the Boston Marathon.
To me, Boston is like a pilgrimage for runners. This is my 8th Boston, and I love coming back every year. I hope I can do it for many years to come.
I love this race. Wellesley, the kids that come out from BC, it's a wonderful course. I think the community does an excellent job of really providing for the runners. I mean, this is clearly a runner's race.
It's the Super Bowl of races, you know. It's no common person can go to the Super Bowl and play in it, but, you know, a common person can run in Boston.
I like the crowds here. I like the course. It's very challenging.
Just the atmosphere, the people surrounding it, the cheering you on, it's amazing.
Wall-to-wall people, start to finish, and that right left onto Boylston, nothing like it.
And one year I was injured and I had to stand on the sidelines, but that was just as exciting because I got to see all those famous people run through.
There's nothing like it. It's the Boston Marathon. This is a gorgeous, gorgeous city, and there's so much to see. And running it, you get to see it all.
I mean, you might as well go big or go home, right? So this is the one.
All right, well, have a great race.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Kerry. This is my 35th year covering the Boston Marathon. It never gets old. It's always special. You know, marathons like Boston, New York, and Chicago have become industry conclaves. Everyone in the running industry worldwide is here in town this weekend. As such, a great place to do business. Our Mario Ferrelli has just such a story.
Thanks, Tony. I'm here at the Boston Marathon Expo. This place is an absolute madhouse. I'm here with Peter Stolp from Adidas. Pete, thanks for joining me today. People are here, they're getting their official Boston Marathon gear from Adidas. We've got jackets, shirts, shoes. Tell me a little bit about this apparel that people go crazy for every year.
Absolutely, Mario. Well, the challenge, as you know, is every year people are either first-time Boston Marathon participants or they're long-time Boston Marathon participants. So the challenge every year is to make sure that we deliver a color story that makes their unique Boston experience memorable and special. The official jacket this year, as you can see, high energy for men. We've got the embroidered BAA logo, we've got the 2012, and we also got the signature call out with BAA 26.2 on the back, as well as the unicorn that has become synonymous with the Boston Marathon. We've also got, for the women, Core Energy was a little bit more flashy, a little bit more universal for the women. Again, we've got the embroidered BAA logo, front and back, a little bit more of a petite cut.
Pretty wild. You certainly can't miss anyone here at the Expo, and you're not going to miss the guys at the front of the race tomorrow either. If you're looking at their feet, they're going to have some pretty bright shoes on. It's called the Adidas Adios 2. It's the fastest racing flat in the world. Jeffrey Mutai wore an earlier version of this shoe last year when he ran 2:03:02. He'll have this on his feet on Monday. Patrick McCow, he had this on his feet when he ran 2:03:38. Tell us a little bit about this shoe and what makes it so unique.
Absolutely, Mario. As you know, it's coming off world record performances. Fortunately, on race day, it might be a little bit too warm. We might not get that 2:03 again, but I guarantee you, Jeffrey's going to be just as comfortable in his new Adios, and he's going to be very, very easy to see on that race course. We've got a nice color call-out story on the bottom. We've got your nice torsion bar there, so he's going to have, in his own words, the energy-efficient snapback from the front of the shoe. So when he gets to that 22 point and he's got to kick it into high gear, that shoe's going to aid and abet him as he gets close to the finish line and hopefully a two-time repeat champion.
Thanks for joining me today, Peter. That's it from the Boston Marathon Expo. Lots going on here. Back to you, Tony.
Well, thanks, Mario. Now joining us on the RunCenter set today, one of America's newly minted marathon Olympians, Desi Davila. And Desi, great memories from January at the Olympic trials where you finished in second place. But more importantly, you're back in Boston, where so much of your career has taken place, leading up from last year, where she runs 2 seconds within victory at the Boston Marathon, running the fastest time ever by an American woman. Desi, you're not running this year, coming back from the Olympic trials, but what brings you to town?
Well, it's Boston Marathon weekend, and it's an exciting time to be in the city and just be around running. But I'm also running on Sunday. I'll be doing the 5K. Anytime you get a chance to race here, it's you got to come in for it and do it because the crowds know what it's all about, and it's just a good time. Yeah, Boston's probably the most appreciative running crowds in the nation, with 116 years of Boston Marathon behind them. Take us back to last year. This is the women's races here at Boston have just been spectacular. The last 4 races have all been within 3 seconds for the victory. Take us down that final stretch. What were you thinking? Truthfully, I never really knew how many people were in the race. I knew that I wanted to win, and I felt that I had the best chance by going out and pushing at the front and taking the kick out of the kicker's legs. And I just kept trying to do that. Anytime it got a little bit soft, I would push ahead and just try to grind the pace back down, and it worked on everyone but one. So
I'll tell you, it was absolutely thrilling. Talk about the crowds, because they were massive.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, when I'm back this year because of that reason exactly. And if you're not fired up running down that home stretch, you must be pretty out of it. Even at that point, you're tired, you're exhausted, but the crowds were definitely carrying me through that last stretch.
Well, she's a star. That's as simple as that. She's a star now. And I'm sure you didn't, when you started, people don't project in that way. How's it feel? I mean, now places like the Boston Marathon, everyone knows who Desi is.
it's exciting. It's great to have people rooting for me, and when you can get people invested in the sport, and hopefully there's an excitement when I step on the line that people are rooting for me. That's always a good thing. So.
Well, that's great. Well, she's exactly one of the great people in our sport. Just keeps getting better and better and better. Now going to represent the United States in London this summer in the Olympic Games. Desi, thanks for joining us. Have fun in the 5K.
Thanks for having me. Great.
Well, that's going to wrap up our RunCenter number 2 here at the Boston Marathon. I want to remind everyone that tomorrow we will do a highlight of Desi's 5K and the milers, both invitational and high school. You'll enjoy that, I'm sure. And also, Mario and Kerry and I will give our picks for Monday's marathon. And we want to remind everyone to go to Competitor.com for all things Boston 2012. We'll see you tomorrow on RunCenter.